Michigan has a diverse cultural population, and because of that, it spawns a lot of questions about who stays in America, who goes back to their homeland, and who can enter this country and stay and be a productive working member of our society. We're going to talk about that next right here on Due Process. And Peter, I'm going to call you Peter.
Peter, sure, that's fine.
Is there a quota for certain countries, certain cultures, certain religions as far as immigration is concerned?
Well, no, there isn't. There is a quota for global type of quota that applies to all countries.
Right.
So if a high qualified engineer is needed by an American company, whether temporarily or permanently, there are a limited number of visas available to that individual. For example, for a green card, if a firm wants to bring a talented foreign scientist here, the process for a green card might take a couple of years.
Okay, but a green card gives someone the right to work here for how long a period of time?
Well, a green card is permanent.
It's permanent?
Yeah, a person can stay here permanently and can ultimately apply to become a U.S. citizen.
Okay.
For a temporary work visa, there are annual quotas. And if the quota is reached, then there'll be there may not be ability to bring any more.
So it's a quota. It's a universal quota. It has nothing to do with the state of Michigan as such.
You're right. It doesn't. It's nationwide.
Okay. And who sets the quotas? Congress? Or?
Yes, Congress sets the quotas, and typically those quotas are filled within a few days.
Really?
Yes, but this year, because of the recession, the quotas are still available now, which really kind of goes against the perception that it's a cheap labor, because if it's cheap labor, then they will be brought in a recession.
Well, the papers, the media will highlight some egregious thing. I'm going to send this mother back, and she's going to leave her daughter here, or they've been here for years and years and years. And I want to get into that. But does anybody quarrel with the initial premise that this country was built on it by immigration? That this is nobody was here until the immigrants arrived. So how do they arbitrarily say you can have 15 from here, 15 from Mauritania, or 20 from? I don't quite understand how they justify the quotas.
Sure.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think what many people may need to know is that immigration law wasn't always as tough as it is today. The immigration law of today primarily was affected by a 1996 act, which made it very difficult for people to come here and to stay here or to even become legal here.
Well, in 1996, we didn't have a recession. That was before 2001.
Yes.
So what happened in 1996?
Well, I don't want to sound political, but
Well, it
was
does
a change.
become political.
There was a change in the makeup of Congress, and many of the people coming to Congress at that time came with the idea that their base would want a limitation on immigration, and that actually triggered the 1996 Act.
And Peter, you represent people who are employers who want people here.
Yes,
You represent families
we do as well.
that say, look, you're going to send my husband back and leave me here.
That's true.
Those are pretty tough cases.
They're very tough, and what's unfortunate is, for the most part, there is no discretion. There's very little discretion, even in a humanitarian situation, even where there's a compelling need. For example, the father could be a decent guy that just happened to have come here years ago, no crime, no criminal history, working hard, paying taxes, and yet he's been deported, and you have his children, U.S. citizens, separated from his kids, from his wife. It's really a sad situation. We have cases like that.
Go ahead. There's an analogy out there. There was a woman who escaped from prison in Michigan maybe 20 years ago, went to California, had a family, raised a family, was a model citizen, took part in parent-teacher things and community affairs and things such as that. They found her, brought her back to Michigan. She spent about 2 months here, and she was released by the governor on a pardon or whatever it was. And I'm saying, you know, is it fair to say that someone who comes here illegally and makes a great life for his family and for his community or her community should have to go back?
Well, I want to mention that to start with, many of those who came here illegally came as minors with their parents.
With their parents.
And they really didn't commit anything illegal because
Well, they didn't have
they
a
had
choice.
no choice.
Right.
Yet today, those people are facing a horrible situation. They might never know any other country, and yet they are treated as undocumented aliens, but this is not their fault.
See, being a first-generation American, I have a bias. So, I mean, we don't have anybody here to argue against the way I feel, and obviously you feel the same way I feel, that this country was founded on certain principles. And as a matter of fact, a whole bunch of people came here from England and said, hey, we're out of here and we're going to start it. So we are tough on people. But the other day, there was a FBI raid on some, I don't even know if they were here legally or illegally. They said they're terrorists, and they killed one of the leaders and said, okay, the rest of you are going to jail and will be deported. Now, then when you talk about deportation, where are you sending these people? To Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Are you going to send them to Iraq? Are you going to send them to Iran? Where do you send them?
Actually, to my knowledge, I think most of the people who were involved in that raid are native-born U.S. citizens.
They were
There may
citizens.
be a few people who are not U.S. citizens, but
Okay.
they would go through a process. There could be potential criminal charges, there could be immigration charges, and they could be deported back to their home countries.
And while they're waiting for the process, are they incarcerated?
Yes, yes.
So they're incarcerated. I mean, go ahead, Peter.
But we need to separate issues of national security from immigration. They are really two separate issues. Immigration
Right.
is good to America, and we shouldn't be afraid. We shouldn't just treat all immigrants as potential threat, because that would undermine who we are as a nation. There was a study done, I read it in the Wall Street Journal. Historically, periods of high immigration quotas to the United States are periods of low unemployment. It's counterintuitive. I mean, and I think the reason is the following. When people come here, they not only work, but they also become part of the consuming public. They rent a house,
Right.
they buy a home, they buy furniture, they become
They stimulate
they
the
stimulate
economy.
the economy. So you need to look at the balance,
Well,
and every study shows that the balance is positive.
You know, you have a mother who, and I don't know if you had this case, Peter, but you have a mother with children. Are you gonna say these children are American citizens, but they don't enjoy the same rights and privileges of having a parent that other kids have? I don't. They go to foster home, and they have a choice. They can either go back with their mother if she's here illegally,
Yes.
or go to a foster home.
Yes.
Have you had
I
cases
mean,
like that?
well, that's a hard. By the way, I think there is such a decision, and the immigration opinion is those kids can go with their mom to the foreign country now, or they can stay with some relatives. It is a sad situation. We had a case in our office where a person was deported. He was working in a company. They told me he is their best worker, and after he was deported, his 3 U.S. kids had the psychological problems. They went on welfare with the mother, and the mother is a U.S. citizen. So I mean, who are we benefiting here? But I want to mention something related to a business-based immigration.
Sure.
We represent a multinational company that is a British company, and I want to tell you about a recent things that the owner told me. He's a British citizen. He told me they do business all over the world. Doing business in America today is more difficult than doing business in East Europe. From the immigration point of view, all the hassles they have to go through, all the paperwork, all the complication, all the expense. I really felt very sad. It's very sad when somebody tells you that America is becoming less attractive because of all the immigration hurdles. Now we're talking about business visas, but even those are becoming difficult to get, very expensive. It costs about $6,000 between government filing fees and and attorney fees to bring somebody here. Well, he could be working for 2-3 months and he goes to work somewhere else. It's just the investment that they need to put is, and the hassles they need to put, the immigration places before international companies are becoming a lot, and that's really, that undermines our competitive in the global economy.
So what you're saying is that multinational company will take the work to Latvia and say, okay, well, it's easier getting there than it is getting here.
Absolutely. Well, Microsoft did that. Microsoft opened a lab in Vancouver. Yes, and the reason, and I have an article, actually, it was written in the paper, they said it's becoming so difficult to bring talented, bright people to America, we had to open this in Canada and bring them there to do their experimentation there.
Has to be a reason.
Mm-hmm.